Hello everyone, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now today, we're going to be continuing the motor factory build with the main focus on delivering in the material we need via tractor. We're going to be using 7 in total for all of the deliveries, including refueling, as well as doing all the cosmetics, handling overflow, and troubleshooting the factory itself. Now before we begin, I've been genuinely asked a lot if I have a Patreon over the course of this series. I've never really been asked that before, but I don't. If you want to support, you can always become a channel member. I just prefer keeping things on this one website. You can also do a super thanks on most videos, I think, which is more like a one-off donation. Or you can just watch for free, maybe leave a like if you're feeling kind. I really don't mind. Alright, let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, there she is. The motor factory, looking ugly as all hell, but it's not done yet. Over on the right hand side of the screen, of course, we can see that we have completed the structure, the machines, the logistics, and the import stations. We still have to do the export stations, road connections, to get the materials and actually bring them in, test the whole thing, and make it look a little bit better. But before we do, I'm just going to build a quick slooping area here for AI limiters. What I'd really like to get is some power switches, and in order to get power switches, we need to feed some quick wire and AI limiters in to the MAM. So I've got some Caterium ingots here prepared. They're going to roll into our constructor here, dedicated to slooping. We'll select quick wire. It's going to be 300 per minute. Give it a Mark IV belt there. Plug that in here. And we'll just manually feed the copper sheet in as well. We'll also, of course, give this slooping and just overclock the crap out of it. And we'll just send it into a little container because we need about 60 or so. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that to get done, I'll talk through my plans for using power switches and why we want them. So basically, if we have a look at our map overall, we're starting to get a little bit sprawled. We've got several little factories going on in the distance, and as things coagulate and coalesce in the center of our complex here, as we expand out over the various dunes, we're going to start to wonder where the problems lie if things start running inefficiently. If things aren't running as efficiently as possible, certain machines are powering down, things aren't getting their goods, it could be hard to diagnose where those problems are, especially if you're building a, quote, mega factory or you're doing things, relatively speaking, in one place. Which we kind of are. In the future, we'll go to other biomes. For a long time, we're going to be stuck here in the desert, bringing things to the desert, oil, water, whatever it needs to get us out into, for instance, the northern forest or somewhere else if you want to get bauxite, the pink forest, and that kind of thing. Anyways, I digress. So, power switches are a great way to be able to determine which part of your network is suffering, which is the part that's varying and causing issues. The way we'll do that is we'll place a power switch down before every factory. So imagine we have a steel factory here, and then we just place a little power switch right before it. So all of our main network is going to that switch, and then from the switch it goes into the factory. Now the switch is on, but what the switch will allow us to do is view what's happening just in that factory on the power line. So we'll be able to see like, hey, this factory is operating at 100%. The line's not fluctuating just for that factory alone. So we already then know that there's no problem there. We'll do that for other factories such as the motor factory, and we'll talk it through when I start to place them down. Now, what you might also realize is you don't need to build a switch next to the factory. We could build a switch here. We could build a little remote viewing area where all of our factories are fed into a big control panel. If we want to check how any of them are doing, we can click it. That's the theory. I'm pretty sure it's true. Need to just check a few things with the power switches themselves just to make sure about that, but that's what the plan is. Now, if it turns out that we can't really remotely view them, because I think when they're turned on, they kind of combine their networks, but anyway, if we can't, it's still good practice to have switches before factories if we do need to power them on or off for whatever reason, so just good to get them. Now, we've just got 50, which is perfect. We're going to turn off this machine now and just take these remaining bits. We'll let this make the rest of the quick wire. Now, inside of the MAM, and by the way, appreciate the compliments on this little place. People seem to like it. Just scroll down to here. The power switch, we've got 55. We'll unlock that. Now, we're going to need AI limiters to actually build these, but I've got a few up in my dimensional depot right now. And with the extra quick wire, we could get more if we need to. Now, I was going to put on the boots. There they are. And we can get going. So we're going to head over to the power factory, or sorry, motor factory now and get started. Let's see if we can drive over these dunes and land on the road. Oh no. Oh, it's good enough. Right, so I'll just very quickly touch on the idea behind these again. So here's our power switch. We'll just place it here for a moment. Now, I normally always face them this way where we can actually see the handle. The handle doesn't matter. You can interact with it either way, but I like to have the handle facing there. I'm going to get a double wall outlet for the A side. and a normal wall outlet for the B side. So the A side, which is on the left, I always have it for the mains. It connects to the mains power that's coming into the factory. The B side connects to just this factory alone. Now you can set this up in any configuration you want, but that's just how I do it. So our power is coming from here into here at the moment, so we're just going to cut the line, and we'll use this new wall outlet instead. So that's receiving power now, right into the A line. Then the B line, which is going here, we'll just connect it back to where that was originally coming in. So if we check this now, here's what we can see. We're focused on the right side of this as it, as time passes. So on the right side, we can see 2700 production of power, which is what we expect. That's our total power network on the A grid. On the B grid, we're not really seeing anything except for max consumption of 972. So already we can just do a quick determination of how much power this place uses. It uses 972 megawatts if the entire thing was to be turned on all at once. So we'll turn it on. That was weird. Oh. It like has a set speed now. You used to be able to flick it as quick as you want. Anyway, not that it matters. So we've just turned this on, so now it's operational. If we have a look behind us, we can see the lights have turned from that red to now a yellow, and the truck stations are green, so they're on. Yellow means they're waiting. Now, here's the thing. This has combined power lines to say that the total power now on the A grid is 2700 coming in, and the total consumption is here. That's because we've merged the grids, but I'm pretty sure if we put these in front of every factory, we'll segment the grid enough so that the A grid will just be the production, and whatever individual factories are, sorry, the B will just be the production, and then whatever we're consuming on the B line. I think that's how it's going to work, so that's the plan. So I just wanted to get that done, and we'll come back to this a little bit later. Next thing is doing the road connections. So I've made a couple changes to the roads. The main one being that I've actually removed the metal part of it, because I started to think that the metal pattern was just repeating a bit too much, and it actually looks pretty good when you don't have it. Now, these road connections were being first put down in the last episode, but I decided to cut that out of the video because it was taking too long. And I decided, hey, the road connections will be finished in this one, so we'll just show it in this video. So what we need is 480 copper and 480 iron. So there's iron right there. There's copper just at the edge of this road. This is where I was building in the last episode. And then there's limestone. We also need limestone. We're not going to use that limestone, though. There's 3 nodes of limestone over to the west. So we'll use those instead. Now for iron and copper, with a Mark II miner on a normal node, the best I can get is 300 per minute. But we need 480. So there should be a little bit more, I think, either around here or around here. I'll have to just double check. So we're going to kind of build a belt that feeds over to these areas, and then a truck station down on a little platform. So we'll just see if we can do that kind of quickly. Just extend this a bit further out. Alright, there we go. I think it looks a little bit better with less of those ramps, because there was just so many of them. I think just putting in a custom ramp looks just a bit better, basically, and runs a bit smoother. So now we need to kind of develop a little platform down here. So the idea was, can we get rid of this rock, actually? It'd be nice if we could. Let's take some obelisks out. No. Okay. Alright. We'll have to work around it then. Does this go above it? Yeah. Great. Alright, so let's just get rid of that. We'll go with a little 2-lane road that goes out this way, I suppose. Ooh, a bit of sand comes through there. Don't like that. What about here? That'd be better, I suppose. Alright, so here's the idea. This is all going to be asphalt, so you don't have to worry about it. Actually, that edge there is probably going to be concrete, this bit. And similarly, this will be all asphalt as well, I reckon. With that edge being concrete also. Cool. So we'll have to just do patterns, and then you can kind of get a feel for what's going to be going on. So one truck station will just go somewhere about here, I reckon. That should be okay. We should be able to feed what we need into the back of it. And the same then goes for this one. Except this can be maybe more in line with the actual deposit, so about there. Looks good to me. Right, so now just to kind of complete the look of the area, we can do little road barriers all the way around. So we'll just go like this, and just wrap this all the way around the entire perimeter of the area. Alright, so here we can kind of see how the tractor is going to operate. Tractor's going to come down, turn right, take the left, go around, load up, go this way, and then come back out. Similarly, if we're going to the left instead, we go down here, we just go straight across to the left, wrap around in here, pick up your thing, come out and go back out that way. So this is the point of contention, right? This is where we come down and we could be going forward to turn left, while a tractor could be going this way to turn left as well. I think they'll be okay as long as they T-bone and don't hit each other head on. They should be fine. Right, so let's start looking into how we get this miner hooked up. So, I guess we'll just start with here. And then have a look at what we got. So, miner Mark II. We should be able to get 300, but we only need 240. We'd like 480, but yeah, seeing as we can't get that, we'll just use half of that. So use a Mark III belt, get this into there, and yeah, so 240 please, so that should be 2 of these power shards fully. This is then connected and says load, that's what we want. So that's really straightforward, obviously you don't really need to do too much with that. Straight out in a line, yeah, that's better. This could be our little makeshift bridge that leads over to that point, and we're just going to feed into there. So this is just going to be one of the components of iron feeding in out of the 2 that we're going to need. So just getting rid of these 2 and pop that back in. We might be able to just fit this right over the deposit now. As in, I don't know if we have to raise it or lower it. No, it looks like we're good. Now that's coming out the middle there, so let's just angle it a bit. Yeah, whatever. Good enough. So yeah, we'll make it a Mark III, go to the center point, go back, and then feed this all the way down and in. Alright, so this is kind of what we're left with, right? Our little platform down here with our miner. We've got another miner over there. I've given it just a tiny bit of cosmetic flair, nothing too much yet, because I haven't unlocked everything I want yet. Might get some more stuff today in the awesome sink, actually, and the awesome shop. So yeah, pretty straightforward, just a little kind of railing as we go further and further out. And then kind of a ladder that can lead up. We've obviously got some pillars holding up this little concrete walkway, and the logistics coming straight down and going in. I'd like to put like a metal support on this as well, but we just don't have it unlocked yet. Right, so this is going to be the next road connection point. So I'll just grab, again, the segment. I'll just go straight out. Again, it might need a bit of a custom touch to it. I'll go out like this twice. So 8 meters out, or 8 foundations, I should say, out. And then I'll start doing a bit of a custom drop down. Alright, so this is looking pretty good, but now comes the tough part of figuring out where these roads are going to go to get all of the limestone and now the additional copper and iron. So if we do a quick scan, you can see one of the nodes is right there. And if we have a look at the map, we can see, so there's this big rock in the way. There's one here, one here. It's not coming up right now, but there's another one here, just around the corner. So we need those 3, bit of a triangulation. So maybe this one can come down to the center, this one can go to the center, and they both funnel through here. If there's a gap, anyway. It's hard to see, but it looks like the rocks are connected, but there might be a tunnel. Yep, there is. Cool. Yeah, so I might send the limestone through here, follow this kind of natural riverbed thing. Right, so I've annoyed some of the natives, but the iron is right there, and the copper is just over there, and where I am is here. So that's where I left the car. That's the straight road going this way, car. So just on the opposite sides of this lake, basically. And I'm just trying to work out how to get a road over here to kind of both places to make it look decent, but there's so much debris in the way that's not easy. Right, so I think I've got a layout that I'm happy with, so I'm basically now just on single mode on the chainsaw, just cutting down any trees that are in the way. And this way, you know, we get to leave a lot of the vegetation around us, and that could just make things look a little bit nicer. But if you don't care and you want to just completely wipe the place clean, go for it. Alright, so it's not fully done yet, and I'll probably drive the route with the tractor and just kind of time-lapse it so you can kind of see the route that I take and speed through it. But I just thought, as I've just built it now, with the Explorer at least, which is a bigger vehicle, we'll just drive along this narrow road through the jungle and cut through to show you exactly where these things are, right? So this is our first iron node. Well, second iron node, I guess, with the first node along this road anyway. So we go pick up our iron, we do our little loop, all good, and then we make our way back out. Otherwise, copper will be turning to the right and heading down this way. So, interestingly, this is actually right alongside where the weapons factory is. That's where the sulfur kind of moves along a bridge and makes its way into our soon-to-be weapons factory. Right now, it just makes black powder and then turns it into nobelisks. But in the future, we'll turn it into different ammo types and a few other things as well. So it's not too far from there. Who knows? One day they might even be connected. We'll just drive down here, and this is where the copper is then. So if I just even quickly hop out, Got like a little area here for us to go down, inspect the miner, have a look at what's going on. And it's pretty simple how it kind of comes up and does its thing. On the other side, over here, it's very similar. It's still subject to putting down some of the foundations, by the way. So we have our miner. It feeds up into the truck station directly. Just to give the place a little bit of flair, I added some walkways and like a little ladder that we can kind of get up and down as well. There's obviously a ladder here. So I was trying to think, like, could we just do this, I guess? It's kind of the same thing, but I don't know, sometimes adding a ladder in can kind of look nice. So I just shifted this over ever so slightly to make the kind of positioning work on that. So I'm pretty happy with it. You know, it's as good as I can kind of make it with the time given. So onto the limestone. So the first limestone node is just going to be one over there, but we'll have to combine two other ones together and feed into the same station. So this will need a bit of a bigger area to do it, and it'll come through that little tunnel area here. So some merging is going to have to be done on these two belts before it goes in. Now, because it is quite a long bridge and we've unlocked hypertubes, decided to build a hypertube so we can get to and from the various areas much more quickly. So it's basically two belts here, Mark III, which can carry 270, of course, each belt doing 256 limestone per minute. And I've, of course, just kind of hooked up a little bit of power supply that leads there, so let's go for a little ride. It's a bit zigzaggy, because I'm not really doing turns or curves, we're just using the world grid and just kind of following it at 90-degree angles. We have a little crossroads here, so we can go right or left to the other 2 points. We'll take a left here and just have a look down this way. They're basically the same, not too much distance involved. And that would be where one of our nodes currently is. I need to unlock the tarp fence. I like the tarp fence anyway, just for stopping your fall when you come out. Not that it's the same as any fence, but I just think that one kind of makes the most sense, as if it could kind of catch you. So yeah, this one is obviously everything's backed up and ready to go. We'll just follow now to the other side. And I suppose we could have a look. This was down here. I'll have to put down little markers so that we know exactly where these are. And I didn't want to build two hypertubes going different ways. I just thought it'd be better just to have one that then you get out of and decide where you're going to go. And this is the other one, right? So pretty straightforward. A little concrete pillar next to the metal that we have. Some stairs or whatever. Just something to make it look a little bit more interesting. Maybe actually we could go with a little ramp as well. Perhaps. It all depends. Anyways, so yeah, 256, we're ready to go. Let's just hop back up. And we'll take the hypertube back and then discuss how we're going to merge and split these. So I was actually going to use like a smart splitter overflow sort of system, and then I realized, wait a second, I don't really have to do that. We could just take these two belts and then split the third one evenly in two and merge them onto each one separately. So that's basically the plan. So once we do that, that'll be all of our resources now gathered. So we have a belt here, 256 limestone per minute. This one is also 256. It's just going to take a little while to catch up. And they both have a merger each, which is connected to one splitter coming from this. So this has been split evenly 50-50 and then been merged onto those other two belts. So if we were to have a look, that's 768 in total going into that truck station. Just to work out what's going on to each belt, plus 256. We basically have 384 on each belt. So yeah, there we go. And it's going to take a while for that ore to catch up, huh? There it is. All right, good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my little cosmetic glow up has been completed. I quite like the look of the area, even though it's like super basic. I just think with the lighting of the desert biome, you know, it's quite nice right now. The sun is sort of starting to set. You have this really nice sand VFX that blows across the region. There's a nice mix of vegetation and the big cliffs here, the blue skies, the fart rocks. I just think the place looks really nice, like when considered as a whole, like as a package. So pretty happy with that. And then the mixture of metal and concrete and then the asphalt. I don't have everything for the patterns yet for the road, but pretty happy with it nonetheless. So what I wanted to talk about just here very quickly is deciding on a naming convention that you're going to go with for your truck stations if you end up using a lot like me. What I like to do anyway is just name them based on what they do and then name them separately if they're in a factory. So for instance, we're here at this station. This is Limestone Export 01. So pretty straightforward, right? And then, because that's what it's called, we have a little abbreviation. I think it's always good to have your 3 or 4 letter abbreviations, because when you start laying out your truck layouts and driving them, there's not much room to save long names. You can, but you actually can't read them. So just using little abbreviations can be kind of helpful that way. And this one is CE01, Copper Export 01. And this is kind of the look and feel of the area. So just like a little platform, a little staircase that leads down. I didn't actually end up doing foundations on this. I don't think everything needs foundations all the time. It's fine. So happy with that. Funnily enough, from here, you can actually see right over to the other limestone. That's how close it was. So one of them actually was quite close in thinking about it. So this whole area in between the little river and the lake and the streams and then the cliffs and some of the vegetation, you know, we just have all these little extraction points. So I think the place looks actually quite nice. We haven't disturbed the natural vegetation too much, but who knows, one day we might end up having to pave over more of it if we ever change this place or want to do more with it. And like mentioned before, we have the weapons factory just over there. So we're just about ready to start driving these routes. We are missing one important thing though, which is a coal delivery point. So we need to be able to deliver coal into the motor factory, and that'll be the refueling station for all of the tractors that go out to these various spots. So that just means building that first. So we're kind of jumping the gun a bit on the to-do list over on the right hand side, because this is one of our export stations that's going to have to be done. And then we're going to source the coal all the way from our steel factory. So if people remember, there is a coal node out there that we have supplying these three, but it's not doing anything else. So I'm going to build a fourth station in the front, just following the exact same layout. It won't disturb any of the existing routes, which is good, and just fill that with coal. And then the tractor that will deliver to these places will come from there. It's a bit of a journey. It's a little further out than I'd like, but it's totally fine. I mean, we'll have plenty of coal. Now, the plan here, as you can tell by the arrows maybe turning, was that this is going to extend out far out that way. So this will be our coal. So this means that it needs more flooring out this way. Probably all the way down just to feed across. And in fact, yeah, we can match as far out as the roof above me comes, so to here. Now that was just temporary to kind of make the place look like it had some sort of support, but we'll be building new supports a little bit later. Alright, so in the back, this is going to be taking in coal, so unloading. And then from here, we'll be feeding into itself and feeding into all of the other fuel points of the other truck stations. So we'll figure that out a little bit later. But just to get the ball rolling on this one at least. Yeah, we want to get the ball rolling on this. Actually, I suppose we do have to fill these three then, because these are the ones who are going to be unloading. So they need to be full of coal, so that the tractor that delivers limestone and iron and whatever else gets fed from here. So the thought process was that if we have a look down here, there might be, yeah, there's plenty of space down here actually. It's pretty good. Not always, but enough. I think we can get away with just using like a 1 meter foundation here or something, putting a little floor hole right here, getting this to take in to an output. I don't know why it's set to input. Is that too close? Maybe it's not registering. It seems like it's not really working. Let's go there instead then. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so that's in. If not slanted down a bit, but it's in. So this now just needs to connect over to that, and then however we feed this in here into the center, we need to feed these other three. Now, this will have to come across from that point, somewhere here maybe, so we'll just dig down underneath again. Are we good? We're actually just about okay. Totally planned it. It's just pure skill, is what it is. Somewhere around here, yeah? Oh my god. Man, this has paid off really nicely, because if this didn't fit, it would have driven me crazy. I wouldn't have liked to clip it through the ground too much, like the belts and stuff. Which is interesting, because actually this will probably then have to come... Yeah, some of it will go under and some will stay up, I suppose. And just let me see what's going on now. Cool. So there we go. Nice little secret compartment, just for us. We'll head down this way, and then we'll have another splitter somewhere here in the center. And I suppose just do that. So... you go down here. Now if we use a glass walkway, we could see underneath at certain sections, which can also be nice. So it's like every now and then you can put in like just a piece of glass here, so you can be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe you're on the splitter, right? So you can kind of see the split happen. Alright, so the only last thing to do is at the actual coal truck station itself, we'll just put a splitter there, because I know that we're going to be feeding the other ones along a line in that direction. So Mark 3, and we'll just keep it like that. So that should be totally fine that way. And in future, we can make that a Mark 4 or something to split a little bit more evenly between the various groups. That should be actually even, because this will be doing 3 in that direction, and this will be doing 3 in this direction, so it kind of works out. Alright, so now that coal is sort of in position, I'll just have to build... Yeah, I guess I have to build this out in turn, because this is going to be a one-way street. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have 2.5 foundation gap between them. So there's one, there's another one, and then this will be the halfway point. But remember, the truck stations... they come over the foundational line just by 1 grid space, 1 meter. So this will have it aligned right in the middle, which is perfect. And this comes over the edge just by a tiny bit. So that's another one there. So I'll just build this out even temporarily, just to see how far we need to go. Alright, so now that's a half foundation there, and then there's 1 and then 2. Why 2.5? I don't know. I just think it's good spacing to give the tractors and trucks good clearance to kind of pull out and then pull in. You don't want them hitting the same station over and over again, so, or the next one in the line. They're supposed to hit their own each. So that's okay. And then we need just one more down here. So that's going to be 1, 2, and then a half foundation here. And then just over the edge just slightly. And that's it. So that's as far down as we'd need to go. Coal import. That's all it is. It's MF1 coal import. So vehicle settings are to unload, and that's that. All right, let's build our tractor and drive our first route for this. Oh, actually, I'm being silly. We haven't actually built the coal on the other side, so I'm going to grab my Explorer and we'll drive down to the steel factory. I'll add on that coal then. All right, so here we are at the steel factory. So this should be pretty easy. If you have a look at a place like this, you know, the setup is really easy. We just have to follow this pattern and keep going. So instead of just a 1 line here, it's going to be a 2. So we'll just widen this out. I guess that means actually I will have to redrive the other routes. So that's the real big drawback of trucks. So the other routes that are carrying this stuff around to other places at the moment, which is just the modular frame section, I think, it's going to have to be widened out a bit. But other than that, it's not too bad. You could maybe get away with just deleting some nodes and letting the thing do its thing and make it way itself over to the other one, but if you're in the area, that would look abysmal for sure. But anyway, so I'm just going to transform this area now. Alright, and just like that, we have number 4 opened up. So we just have to connect it up to the coal itself, but yep, basically everything else should be the same. Like I said, I'm going to have to redo those couple routes that are already coming to and from here, so a little bit of a pain in the ass, but not too bad, because there's only 2 routes, I think. Okay, so alright, so there we go. So I just moved the splitter back by 1 meter over, so it's not center aligned, but it allowed everything to kind of fit in there much more nicely. So I'll keep this as a Mark 1. Everything else will be Mark 4 down the line. And we'll just trace this all the way back to where the coal comes. Oh yeah, I remember this. It was a similar problem to actually what I just had. That's not a big deal though. We'll just go again, Mark 4, and then the same with this. So, speaking about consistency before and knowing exactly how much you're going to consume, we can look after the routes are set up at how much coal is being used and set that accordingly, but that is a really tough thing to gauge properly. So it's going to be hard to not have your coal overfill in this miner to kind of shut down. A buffer could maybe help that if you're really close. But yeah, that's actually a really tough one. So again, that would be one of the things I'd be tempted to try and put on its own network. A Mark II miner would be good, so let's just get some more portable miners going. And then we'll just give that coal back in, boost this, so that is a total now of 150 per minute. Wow, really not that much for a Mark II miner fully overclocked, but it is what it is, 150 per minute. Alright, Mark III it is then. Alright, yeah, so there we go, 150 coal per minute. That should be enough, I think, for all of the journeys that we're going to be doing, including the ones that were already here, which I'll update a little bit later. They're fine for now. Alright, so I've just blocked out a wall and then sort of an entrance, so I know roughly what's going to be happening here. So just going to start the recording now, drive all the way down to the steel factory, pick up our coal, come back, drop it off at the coal factory, and that should be it. Now, you got to just take it nice and easy around these corners, you know? A lot of people seem to struggle with driving. I don't know what the big deal is. It's pretty easy. Stay in your lane and take it easy around the corners. That's all you got to do. Alright, so here we are. So we're just going to be pulling in from this side. So everyone drives in from the same side. Everyone drives out from the same side, but not necessarily the same exit. And we just pull into the first one here, which is our coal. So we'll unload. And that coal should get distributed to all the different places. So I did a test drive before this, so it's already taken some in. And now we'll just go forward. We'll just pull over to the left a little bit at a bit of a diagonal angle. So we're in our own little lane now. I don't have the painted markings here. All the way this way, and then just turn to the right, I guess. And hope for the best. Right, so, bonk. That's it, saved. So this started in the Steel Factory. So Steel Factory 1, maybe Steel Factory 1 bay number 4. Don't know if that really matters. To Motor Factory 1. Also, it's going to be bay number 4. And it's doing coal. Now, one of the things we have to do before we enable autopilot is basically judge what can this hold. Yeah, so we've got 5 across and 5 down, is it? So 25 slots in total, so pretty straightforward. So it's 2,500 coal. 2,500 divided by 150. I thought it was 2,400. Divided by 150 is 16 minutes. It takes 16 minutes to fill one of these fully. So what we could do is here, rather than at the steel factory, which maybe one day something else will access that coal, not multiple places will be delivering here. Well, it depends. We'll see what happens. But anyway, let's just assume that this is the place that we want to do that to. So 16 minutes. Now, it takes a minute or two to get there. So let's say, just to be conservative and help ourselves a bit, we'll say 12 minutes, right? So 12 times 60 is 720 seconds. So I want you to wait here 720 seconds before you make the next trip. And back at the original station, I think I did wait a bit too long. So I might just go and remove any timer that is there, if there is one. So I'm just going to enable autopilot now. Let this guy do his thing. He has to get a bit of a... it's like a little toy truck. It has to get wound up before it gets going. So yeah, I'm just going to drive down towards the steel factory. Just check, just to be sure that that doesn't have something... It's not waiting down there for no reason for really long. Alright, so here we are. So, 36 seconds. That's a bit too long. Now, in order to fill up completely, I don't know how long it would take. What's the transfer rate? 7 stacks per minute. There's 25 stacks. I don't know. But let's just say 15 seconds or something. It's like the normal amount of wait time. And he's here right now, so that's great. Come on, little fellow. There you go. Not a bother. Nice. Wow, it's already got 900 on him. That was really quick. I mean, 15 seconds might be overkill then, actually. So maybe we'll lower that down even further. Let's just do 10. I'm sure you can fill 25 stacks in 10 seconds. We'll just hop in, we'll turn off the nodes, get out, and that's it. We don't have to do anything here anymore. So we'll just drive back. Oh, one of our other regulars has come back, the steel pipe guy. Hello. But one of the great things when you have lots of these going around at the same time is just like the world feels really alive. You know, trains, trucks, drones, tractors, everything moving. Always looks really good. And there he is, Terry the tractor. He's back. So he had that 900 in there. So this thing is filling up super fast now. Looking good. And then our little distribution system seems to be taking effect. We haven't plugged into these ones yet, so I guess we'll do that next. Alright, should be as easy as that. So coal is now moving along and making its way into every truck station we have. And just to double check, we'll just check these ones. 100, 100, 100. So we are almost ready to go with driving these routes. But the next thing on our to-do list is actually to finish off this export side of things. Alright, so I'm here on the top floor. This is where wire is coming out. This is where rotors wraps around and goes into the machines to make motors. And then the motors themselves will come out of here. So we sort of have 3 lanes, right? 1, 2, and 3 of our 3 export products. And they need to go to here, there, and there. But we also need to manage their overflow. Right, so I feel like I'm kind of losing my mind, but this is what I've gone with so far. So what we've got here is a smart splitter, some storage containers, and an awesome sink. This is what we're going to need for every truck station, except for the awesome sink that will be shared between the 3. I couldn't build the awesome sink on the right side. We're just a bit too close to here. And I want it to be in front of the actual floor hole where we go down to the truck stations. That's why we're starting here. Right, so let's just take an example that wire is going to come down from somewhere upstairs and feed into here. We're going to go straight through with the center output, right? Straight through into this container. And this will just go straight through as well into this smart splitter, which again says go straight through, which goes downstairs into the truck station. So the truck station has priority number 1. When the truck station is filled, Then we send the overflow out this way into a dimensional depot. I don't have a dimensional depot right now, so we're just going to use a pink normal container just to illustrate that a depot will go there in the future. So that'll go in, and remember that it can only store a couple of hundred, so that'll get filled after the truck station, which has priority because that's feeding other factories. This is just my inventory, so when that gets full, then this gets knocked back again, right? This container starts to fill up then, because it's got nowhere else to go. It can't go through anymore, it can't go left anymore, container fills. When the container overfills, and this says that it's full, it then shoots out to the left and goes into the awesome sink. Seems reasonable. Can't see anything wrong with it, but something in me is telling me I don't need 2 smart splitters to do this. But I can't see a way that we don't. I was thinking like a smart splitter with an overflow out the left and overflow out the right, but we can't set a priority on which one goes first. It'll just overflow evenly between the two, so we don't want that. So, yeah, this is what we got instead. Alright, anyways, so I'm just going to do that setup again, but here, and just do that over multiple times. Alright, cool. So there we go. So I've applied that same setup to everything now. So, but everything is feeding over into the one awesome sink. That'll be the only difference. So this line feeds up and over and then into a merger here. So there's 3 things. So one merge is fine. They all merge and then go in. So this is going to be the wire on the right. This will be motors or rotors. Doesn't really matter which one. So you just go straight in there. You can go down here and you can go all the way down to this and then into there. Okay, cool. So rotors are rolling into this splitter here and then going up and over into where it needs to go. So as a first port of call then, its overflow will just go straight into there. We'll make this a smart splitter, give that overflow to the right. So not until all the motor machines are full will the rotors spill over and then go down and start feeding into their containers. Now the next one is going to be here. This is kind of perfect actually, so we'll bring it up to right there. And actually, it's even better than I thought. That can go all the way to the back, and this can go all the way to the wire. Alright, easy as that. That should be it. That should be everything done. So now just to quickly look upstairs, just get a kind of an overview of what's happening. The wire that's rolling along here, it runs into the middle belt. The motors that are being produced here, 20 per minute, runs into this one. And the rotors will overflow and go into this one. So we'll name these different stations then appropriately, right? Based on what's going into each one. Whew, alright, so each station now has their little names. So 1, 2, 3, we have, these are all export stations. So starting from the left, we've got iron, limestone, copper. Number 4 then, we've got our coal. We now have motors, wire, and rotors. So that is everything now hooked up for truck stations. They've all received their coal. Now it's just a matter of driving the various routes that we need to do. So I would say that that is the export area done. And we've also done the overflow. Just need to hook it up to power actually, which I'll just do now. And then we can start doing some of the deliveries. And then we can do some of the cosmetics as the machines are starting to turn on and stuff.
Okay, so now that pretty much everything is in place, I want to do some of the cosmetics. So that requires getting a few of our awesome shop tickets in position. I've actually got 74 right now, so quite a bit. And just buying a bunch of things out of here. So in the architecture category, we'll get the frame pillar set, the structural beam, the tarp fence that I mentioned, the metal barriers. I've already got quite a lot of things in here. For walls, I want the inverted ramp bundle. Alright, we already got the ramps. Then the steel framed window, the gates. That should be all good. Foundations. Not too much here, just the half foundation set for now. Don't think I'm going to do anything else too crazy with it. I'll leave these 2 paint finishes just for a little while. We have the grip foundation metal. Sorry, the grip metal foundation. And yes, the steel wall material, the concrete wall material. I'll leave the 2 rooftops. I do have the glass one already, so that is going to be 39 tickets. We'll just get all of that. Also want the label and display sign. I'd like to get the billboards, but I can't really afford to be making crystal oscillators just yet, and they're quite expensive at 10, so I guess I'll leave it. Might end up getting some of this lighting in just a moment. Let's see, management. Yep, get the conveyor walls and ceiling mounts, that's all good. The hypertube floor holes and wall attachments, so that's going to be another 12. And I reckon that'll be it for a little while. Yeah, I think so. I haven't got the concrete pillars, so may as well just throw that in there as well. Alright, so with that, I'm going to head on over and we'll start doing some of the cosmetics. Alright, so these walls were just temporary, so just going to clear that now, and I've got new blueprints in the architecture category, the motor factory module. So I've just got different kind of wall styles and pillars, or whatever the kind of different architecture we're going to use for specific builds are. So this is going to be the first one right here. Pretty straightforward. Actually, I guess I'll just put down one of the walls here so we can get a good look at it, just on the corner. And that's basically it. So this is going to be our bottom floor. The middle floor here is going to be a bit more custom, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do on the top floors, which is custom as well, for the most part. So really, I'm just going to copy this now, using blueprint mode, down in a line, pretty much all the way down the road until the very, very end, removing all of this and all of this. So we'll catch up once it's in place. Alright, so there we go. We just have a super long, super uniform wall going all the way down. It looks, you know, it's better than not having it there at all, but it's pretty uniform, pretty basic. It kind of looks just like it was mass fabricated with no real character to it or no real depth. So we're going to open up our exit here that goes into the factory so we can actually drive out, of course. So when I'm thinking of cosmetics in this playthrough, at least the idea is that I don't want to spend forever on them. You know, you can get really bogged down, especially when you want to do things like curving roads or adding just adding things that aren't really meant to be in the game. Often you'll have to get a beam. You'll use like a diagonal mode like this. You'll do something like that, and you're like, oh cool, I have now this like offset angle. So then what I can do is grab something like a pillar and attach that to here. And then, you know, get rid of this. And then now we have diagonal pillars. It's like, trust me, I know about all this stuff, and every now and then if we can make it happen and use it with blueprints or something, I'll try to do it. But this is definitely function over form, is that right? I think so. Anyway, you get the idea. So I want to get a little bit better than just a solid wall. So we have our windows and everything, but in blueprints we've also got some pillars here. I'll just put them into the edge and make sure they're right in the middle of the wall. So every 3 walls, 1, 2, 3, we'll add a pillar in. And this just again gives it a little bit of depth. 1, 2, 3. It's a little risky being right on the road, I suppose, but it should be fine. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 here on the end. So that just kind of breaks things up even straight away, just a little bit, I think. Now, we're going to continue this. I'm going to do one wall basically on camera, and then I'll do the backside and the other sides of the factories like all myself. To at least save time, but this way everyone gets to just kind of see how it works. So 1, 2, 3, and then we do another one here. 1, 2, 3, and we do another one here. And I'll be doing the roof in a second as well. 1, 2, 3, and another one here. Now we need to open up an entrance just a bit further down here. We're gonna get that wall and that wall. So that's our other, I say entrance, it's really the exit, isn't it? Right, so we'll grab this. So 1, 2, 3, and pillar. These are all in line. Yep, 1, 2, 3, and pillar. So obviously the math hasn't completely lined up here, but that's okay, whatever. We'll just stick one here on the edge. And one of the reasons I thought about doing this is because you can see the kind of clipping that's going on. So it's like, yeah, just to mask that, you know, a little pillar in here could look kind of good. Right, so that's what we got. I think it looks a little bit better already. Now, next part is we want kind of supports going all the way up to the 2nd floor. So we'll just stack these pillars on top of each other. Again, using blueprint mode, they just stack really nicely. Of course, you could just paint these or put these pillars down by building them naturally. There's nothing that made this need to be a blueprint, but you'll kind of see why I did it in just one sec. Right, so that goes up to the next floor over. That's pretty good. I'm going to climb up now, and we'll do the upstairs. So up here, in the blueprint section, there's this other one here, a 14-meter painted beam and support. So we want the arrow facing out, so that this thing is facing in. So we'll do one there, and with blueprint mode, it's just going to snap onto those pillars. Hence why I built them as blueprints. And do that one as well. So what are these? What are those? Well, let me explain. So this is going to be a little support for the roof that we're going to be building. So I'll just get my jetpack fuel back. I'll just hop up to this point. Right. So let's now take out the... where is it? There we go, the roof is at the very top. We'll get a 2-meter roof on the edge here, aiming down like that, zoom it all the way out. And now we kind of have, well, we'll see when we look downstairs, it should be a kind of, look like this roof is supported with these kind of slats. How far out do we want to go? Yeah, am I going to put a pillar on the very edge? Maybe. We'll decide that in a minute. Right, now we'll just go with a flat roof, with the black piece aiming out towards the edge. We'll go with rotate it around like that. Do the same on this side. Rotate that out, and then a 2 meter down on this side should even it out. Alright. So I'll just close this one over here, just real quick. Anyway, right, so there we go. So we'll cut this away, maybe build a little fence around this. We could use one of our new fences, maybe the barrier? Low barrier maybe, and then a little fence on top of it might make a bit more sense, or just look a bit more interesting or purpose-built. Like we knew that this was going to happen the entire time. And even here, I'd say you could go with then railing on top of that. And that's to handle the antenna and the little radar thing from the awesome sink. Right, so now if we take a look downstairs, we kind of have this little effect going on. So it's sort of like an outdoor... What would you call it? Just shelter, I guess. There's a little shelter here. Now, I think it's a little dark, so we could maybe brighten it up with some of the glass roof bits that we have. So going into the materials, we select glass roof. We'll start down... I'll start over here, actually. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Gap. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gap. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. That's okay. So there we go. That's kind of cool. Now, of course, this side is going to have these pillars on them as well. So that'll make things look a bit better. We have this little barrier here. Well, it's not quite a barrier. I suppose we could put even railing on top of that. It actually doesn't just sit on the foundation. It sits on the metal beam itself. So that's kind of nice. And we could go with the industrial version if you really wanted to differentiate things a little bit. Go all the way down. And if we made it the... what's it called? Unpainted kind of color, it could look like it's just really metallic and industrial and part of like the support structure for this floor in a way. So I'll just paint that really quickly, just as an example. So then from outside it looks kind of like that. Yeah, I think that actually looks pretty good. Quite happy with that overall. Now, might be wondering about the floor here. So what are we going to do? Not entirely sure, if I'll be honest. But I think just largely normal windows. If we just started with a regular metal wall. Is that right? Yeah, that looks good to me. And that could just go up to the very top. And then just the low basic wall the whole way across, because this is going to be indoors. Now, interestingly, our metal... Oh, this is the entrance, that's why. Yeah, the entrance is just below me. Or the exit, I keep calling it the entrance. Just bring that all the way down, I guess, to here. This is where this room stops. So where the concrete meets the roof is where that room ends. So we have a little 1 meter wall now. So I'm just going to go with the standard window, like the really blank looking window. Let's see, full frame window, that's the one. And we have to make sure we position it on top of the 1 meter. There we go. And that can just go pretty much all the way down. Then we need to go across 3. Alright, so something like that. So, bigger, clearer windows on the upper floor. Now, why haven't I extended it across this way? I'm actually going to change what this is. Just go up with this wall, paint the whole thing, I guess, all the way up to the top. Okay, so that gives us a bit of a foundation to work with. So, a 4 meter turn there and there. So now we kind of have like a kind of more curved entrance. We could get rid of this bit. Maybe using something like the hex frame window here. Then we can grab one of these and slot that in there. We can grab the other version of that. It's a 4 meter. Slot it in there. Just for something going on. Now, it's a bit of shenanigans going on. So let's just cover up the line here and we'll use the straight line. And then I guess, just for our center point here, we'll make this unpainted. The rest of the building can stay yellow, but this is because we have this yellow and gray look going on. So that could be like our, yeah, just kind of more the focal point, right? It's an entrance slash exit. Now, we're not done yet. The idea is to do this roof up on top as well. So, but like much higher, of course. So one can go there, and these will just extend all the way down along the top of each pillar. And then we'll do a roof on the very top of this, just like we've done on the kind of lower part. What we could do as well, I don't know if this would look good or not, but this could be glass. The entire outer side of it. So let's just have a quick look at maybe what that would look like. if this was to be entirely glass the whole way down. Not the entire thing, I mean, you could do that as well, but I was just thinking just the edges, just to see. We can easily just paint it back if we don't like it. Is that better or worse for the actual supports here? It's kind of nice. I kind of like it. I think I'm leaning towards this. But, you know, I don't know. If I was live streaming, I guess I would just go with what you guys say, but I won't know until after the fact. So, yeah, I'll stick with the windows on the edges then. Alright, so the windows and the roof is almost completely in. We just need the corners, right? So we need the inverted corner 2 meters for these little inside parts. If we can line that up like so. And I guess also just make sure it's glass. And then on the opposing side of things, then of course we need our... Oh, it's so awkward to do it from that screen. I'll just go into it here. The outer corner 2 meters as well. And I should really just change, I suppose, this to glass, because that's what the corners and stuff would be. Alright, yep, so we'll just grab this and then just go around, finish off these corners, and then there's a couple little extra little bits to do, and then I can finish off the rest myself, and then we'll turn this bad boy on. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is down on this floor. I think the entire kind of perimeter of it should be the new grip metal that we just got, right? So this requires steel. And we'll just, yeah, whatever, just start it from here, and just bring this around the edge, not there, but everywhere else, all the way around the edge. And that should look pretty good from downstairs especially, but it also makes the place look like it's been supported a bit better with like metal structural beams and stuff, I guess. Something like that. You can tell I'm an engineer. Very nicely as well, these inverted ramps will kind of plug the gap on the edges of our rooftop, so that's good as well. And then the metal beam obviously sits on top of it, just to keep the consistency with how the bottom kind of shelter floor is done as well. And then, yeah, the industrial... Hopefully this does work everywhere, but yeah, this kind of thing could just then sit on top of it. I have to line it up with the foundation edge, and the handle should be facing out like this, right? Because this would be the inside. Yep. Alright, we'll just bring that across, and then I'll paint it the unpainted finish. Alright, so I thought I would just get a little bit of distance so we could have a look at the overall finish to the outside. So it's actually taken me nearly 40 minutes just to do all of that, you know, just to put all the walls going all the way around it. I haven't even done any of the staircases or anything inside. Now, there's not going to be that much inside, so it should be pretty quick, but it's just interesting how quickly you lose time to just doing some cosmetics. But I'm pretty happy with it. You know, the place looks decent. The pillars look pretty good. A bit more definition to the place. The patterns are in. The lighting is hitting the building really nicely. And, totally meant to do that and that. And our upstairs is looking quite nice too, with the different kind of shelter sort of rooftops, I guess. Now there are little bits missing every now and then. I still have to do some of the railing around this side, but for the most part it's pretty good. The only weird thing would be this side has the floor kind of sticking out a little bit over where the building would go. So right now I've just given it a big tall pillar. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine if we wanted to tap that iron in the future, which I think we do, it's a pure node, I think. This would probably be shifted over or just moved. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if it just even floats there. Or we could do that diagonal pillar thing that some people do, right? You connect here to here. Something like that might look kind of good, so it's just like on stilts coming out. That might be a bit better. So I'll think about it. The very last thing I want to do before we actually start making the deliveries of this place is just doing some staircases. So I'm just going to do some staircases from like somewhere here to up here. One all the way in the corner that goes up, and... yeah, maybe just some walkways that cross over the road so we don't have to jump across all the time and things like that. So just a few little walkways to go around, and that'll be pretty much it. Alright, so after an additional about 30 minutes or so, I've just put in some walkways, done a little bit of painting so that we can kind of get up and down the different floors now a little bit easier. So this is now segmented from the outdoors and the indoors, so it looks a little bit better in my opinion. And it's not the, you know, it wasn't really designed with the idea in mind of how to get around, and that's often a failure of mine when I make my factories. I always forget, like, where should a stairwell be? Where do the people need to get around? I was kind of more thinking about machine placement more than necessarily getting around. Is it that big of a deal? Definitely not, especially when you get the hover pack. There'd be enough power connections here just to float over the entire thing. But at least we do have, like, a technical way to get up and down if power was off completely, for example. So, that is now cosmetics done. The final thing is going to be testing, except for we do have to drive the last couple of routes. So I'm going to drive the routes for the various different resources that we have to bring in. I'm going to power the factory down so that we can drive the routes. Then we'll just flick the switch on, and then we can watch everything unload into the various truck stations, and everything should kind of power on together. And I think everything will just run totally fine, right? So let's get to it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment of truth. I'm just winding up my little tractors here and sending them off. They've all just been kind of sitting here with the nodes on, and I'm just kind of setting autopilot, giving it a little running start, and then letting them go do their thing. I'm sending off my children to go into the workforce. Alright, so let's enable autopilot, hide those last nodes, and off we go. So the way it's going to work is basically I'm keeping this place turned off. Nothing is being delivered yet, so I actually truly have not tested this place. But now we can see on our map, if we just zoom in really quickly, all of the tractors are going off to their little respective areas. Some have reached there already, which is so cute. And they're going to wait there for 3 minutes. Each one is being told to wait for 3 minutes at its station. So this is our limestone in the distance. We can see 2 of them are just waiting. So one of them is waiting right now, and when that pulls off, the other will wait for 3 minutes, and then that will pull off. So just 180 seconds for each truck stop. So pretty straightforward. Didn't tell them to wait here, only for 15 seconds. So basically just to unload, because you don't want multiple trucks backing up behind each other when you're trying to just keep the throughput of the factory going, especially if you end up having lots of tractors or trucks in the future. It's a lesson I learned when I was designing out the copper Caterium factory in my previous series. In the time that it's taken me to do that, we should start to see the first few trucks maybe coming back. You know, ow. Ow. That's pretty funny. Alright, anyways. Alright, so let's take a little look. They're still hanging out there, so we'll just have to wait till they come back in. It is set to just 3 minutes. Ah, the first tractors are arriving. And look at them, they're staying in their little lanes. It's so cute. We'll see if they end up bumping into each other, but they really shouldn't. It should be pretty straightforward, and this must be one of the copper ones coming in now, aiming for bay number 3. I love seeing them follow the little lanes. Guys, shout out to tractors, man. They're really maneuverable. They hold a decent amount, and they're quick enough, you know? But we'll get trucks as we get to future factories, and don't worry, we'll of course be getting to trains and drones and everything. Trains will be not too long after oil, I would imagine. So I've got my little parking area up here. This is where we can kind of stop. Normally, I'll just be able to take this hypertube back down to wherever we want to get to, just to cut through the factory a bit quicker, or go up and downstairs. But I think now that the various tractors have arrived, and they seem to have everything they need... Ooh, that's a bit of an issue. Might have to think about that. Oh, no. Yeah, good job. It worked his way around. Yeah, because this one's waiting, and we've got 2 that are piling up here. So that's one of the reasons maybe not to go so close to the edge of the road. A little dangerous, right? If a truck is going this way, they're going to bump into them. They won't deadlock, but they will hit them. Anyways, let's activate. You can place your bets now on whether or not this place is going to work flawlessly. Because I really have no idea. It's going to take a little while to power up fully anyway. Alright, we are activated. So, let's just take a quick look at everything rolling out. Ooh, it's hot. Smelters have kicked off. The 480 per minute's rolling down into our 16 smelters. We have the limestone that's been divided between the foundries on the bottom floor and of course the top floor. We now have the iron ore that's making its way out as well. And again, it's going to be manifolded, so it'll take quite a while to power all of these on. They're being fed from the opposite sides though, actually, so that usually helps in getting them to get up and running a bit quicker anyway. Cool. Foundries are on. Smelters are on. This floor is hot. A lot of fumigation in here as well. I suppose a little bit up here too. And just like that, we're already making wire. Very, very easy. Very quick. It's going to take a long time to power on all of these. 32 constructors all the way down the line. Let's head up to the next floor. So of course, the wire is now being made and prepped primarily to go into these machines to make stators. And then we're also sending it in down these machines to make rotors. Anything left over will just head out, hopefully to our spillover area. And then there's just 3 machines here down on the end. Or is it 4? Oh, it's 4 actually, that are making our motors, 20 per minute. Alright, so one of the questions I often get is how can you check the efficiency of machines or know that everything's working when you're relying on tractors? Like, how can I know that my resources are getting from point A to point B correctly? Like, the throughput's the same. Because obviously you can't just track a belt anymore. You're carrying something on a tractor and then delivering it. Well, for one, none of these have reached like complete maximum when the tractors are dumping things into them. So that's a good sign. But the real way to check is to go to the source and check your miners. So I'm going to drive down to some of the miners that we have just further down here. So we'll check on the limestone, and then we'll check on the iron and the copper. So if things are done right, these should all be running at 100%. They shouldn't be getting backed up. The tractors should have some room in them, even when they're delivering things, potentially. And if they're not, because it could take a while to get things up and running and started, you can always go back to these truck stations and just kind of empty them out a little bit if you want, if you just wanted to reset the board and kind of check a few things. But let's just have a look. I'm going to say that this is at 100%. Boom, 100%. I was not entirely sure about that, but yeah, pretty happy. And then here, so we can actually see that's just taken from the middle. So we'll need to leave it for a while, but here's one of the ways you can check, right? If this ever reaches completely full and the miner is shutting down, well, we've kind of built all the miners to be a very specific number that factory is exactly consuming. You know, we're making 768 limestone per minute, and that's consuming 768 per minute. So if any of these don't run at 100%, I know that the correct amount is not getting into the factory, and that's just inevitable. So as long as the miners are all running at 100%, then you know you're good. Think your transport network's okay. So for instance, if this was overfilling, it would need another tractor, most likely, or there might be some problem on the receiving end inside of the factory. Now, because it's a manifold system, you do actually expect that not all the ore is getting to where it needs to go immediately. It's kind of to an extent, because certain products are reliant on other products. So maybe all the limestone goes in, but then the copper can't merge with it, you know, to make whatever it needs to make somewhere down the line, or sorry, the iron, right? So because there's an interdependency, it's not that easy to make everything run 100% right out the gate. But as the manifold is built up now to about 80 or 90%, I can kind of run around and see if any of these have completely fulled. And by the looks of things, they actually haven't. So that's pretty good. But if they had, which is totally normal and it's okay, if they had, I would have just stopped the miner for a little while, or manually just deleted maybe like 10 or 15 stacks just by grabbing a stack and just throwing it in the bin or something, you know? And then you're kind of like it's almost like a buffer. You're like clearing the buffer so that things can just flow again and have no more stop starting in a way. He's fine, he'll be fine. Now, let's just have a quick look at the copper one as a final test and see. And if this is running at 100% then as well, we have done a very good job indeed. 100 feels almost too good. It feels almost like I don't believe how that's possible. But yeah, sure. Okay, I believe it. And what about you? Are you coming in here with anything? Oh, you still got 1800 on you. So that's kind of interesting, but it hasn't overfilled yet. Well, that's totally fine. We don't mind that. They are just being told to wait 3 minutes, so it's actually expected that they might have a bit more. They're carrying a little bit more than they need because they're making their trips a little bit more frequently than they need to also. So that's great. So I'm just going to go quickly check back at the factory, and we'll have one final look at things to see how far along this manifold is now. I gotta say, it's pretty fun driving this on the roads. And I'm not even gonna bother checking the ones out there. I'm just confident it's all working totally fine. So I'll just quickly pull in here, see how full these stations are. 4, 3, 2, 8, and 3, 9. So they can all take 4,800. So yeah, seems totally fine by me. They're all running and cooking and doing their thing. That might be in the way of some tractors in a second. And then this is at 100%. Are the ones on the end at 100%? This is at 100. Wow, things are looking up. All right, let's just get rid of that for a moment. And we'll go upstairs, and then we can just quickly check on how the copper is doing. So the copper, that won't be at 100% just yet, right? So the manifold is stopping around here. So the copper ingots, it's 100 to this point. Okay. So we'll check our smelters then. The smelter will be the next port of call. It's like, are the smelters all running at 100? No. By the looks of things, there's actually some stop starting just here at the end. So we're at 100, and then it becomes 3, and then 1, and so on. So it's probably just taking a while to feed itself down the line. Now, some people have done this, and it depends if you want to or not. You could take a second belt out of here, and then try to feed the other line quicker, instead of relying on a single line manifold. But I just wanted, the ease of building meant putting it all in one line. We could also do a manual job, and take out some of the copper ore and just pump it into the machines ourselves. If you're desperate to get it running at 100, like very quickly, you can kind of manually override a manifold that way. But yep, I see nothing wrong here. It's just going to take time. It's only been about, I'd say, between 15 and 20 minutes since the whole thing came on. Probably going to take 30 minutes to get up to complete full strength, at least. Possibly even 40. It's really all based on the fact that there's 32 constructors in a line. That's a long manifold. So we are just kind of waiting on that. Now, interestingly, not enough steel on this one yet. That's just because it's the last in the line, is it? By the looks of things, yeah. 200 steel there, 60 here, and 3 on the end. Okay, we're almost there. Oh, actually, even less. 4 machines to go. Yeah, same on that side, too. There's a mini red flag, though. I feel like if the foundries were running at 100, these should be too. But again, it could just take a little bit of time. They might not have been running at 100 for very long. This one is at 100, and this is the one on the end. This is at 100, and the second to last one, also 100. Yeah, so we're making enough. And is it getting out okay? Yeah, we're not bunching up any steel. Unless it's the one on the end here. Let's just double check that. Nope, yeah, it's fine. So there should be enough steel rolling out now, but it is the exact amount we need is what we're making. So I guess it can just take a while to feed all the machines. Fair enough, we'll just leave it. And let's take one last little look at our motors and see how they're doing. I'll just jump through the roof here. Nice, there we go. Alright, so we've probably got several hundred, I would imagine, downstairs now. Dude, we got 545. So you can actually do the math on how long the place has really been running, I suppose. At, let's say, 80% of 20, you know, like 16 per minute or something like that. We've got 545. It's been 34 minutes. It's been way longer than I thought, but that's just the way the game feels, I guess. So it's already been 34 minutes. Yeah, it's probably going to be at max, then I'll increase it to an hour before everything is ready then. And that's the quote, trouble with manifolds. But it doesn't really matter, right? If you're going to deliver a batch now of 500 motors into something, you're totally fine.
Alright everybody, I wanted to give you guys a quick summary of how everything works. So, we're starting off with the mining extraction operations, our various different platforms here, picking up the limestone, the iron, and the copper. Of course, the iron and copper had 2 platforms, often separate locations, so this was the other one. And of course, the ore gets driven into our factory from one side and then out the opposite side. So this car here is dropping off some iron into bay number 1. Mixing the iron with limestone gives us a much greater yield, 1:2 ratio, so we have a nice 480 belt going upstairs. Similarly, we have 480 copper ingots coming up here for 2 belts of 480 wire. On the top floor, everything kind of comes together to be made into steel pipe, rotors, and motors. The iron, of course, goes directly into steel pipe thanks to an alternate recipe. And that gives us 2 nice and even 120 per minute belts of steel pipe rolling into rotors and stators. The wire gets divided a little bit less elegantly, but still, it works out just fine to go into both. This gives us our 40 rotors per minute, 20 which are left over to go into our truck stations downstairs. The wire, the motors, the rotors all combine on our sort of little logistics floor here to get sorted before they go down into the truck stations to be ready for collection and to be driven around the map for future factories. Of course, with some going into dimensional depots as well, so we have it ready to build with. And there we have it, our first multi-story factory here now in the desert. Now remember, of course, the save file, the blueprints, and all the factory information can be found in the description, whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. That's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one.